Hey, what's good, my fellow masters? I got a little behind on the event story and realized the final quest time gate has passed. So with that, depending on one's overall progress through the main story, the challenge quest may already be available to you. The eligibility requirements are pretty normal for a challenge quest. Clear all of the event main quests and Solomon. 1 crystallized lore will be awarded upon the first clear, along with item drops of a spirit root, evil ceiling lamp, and a berserker monument. Now, this challenge quest is a bit different from the usual single boss with multiple HP bars, a few gimmicks, and perhaps even some helpers. This time, it's a continuous wave of 20 enemies with 2 key boss enemies among them. First up is Berserker Paul Bunyan. She will appear at the very start with a seemingly meager 149,000 HP, which doesn't seem all that threatening. Her normal skill set include a 3-turn increase to Buster for all her allies, a 1-time heal for her allies, and a debuff to her enemy's defense for 3 turns, along with a reduction to their healing for 5 turns. Her NP is an area of effect that also reduces defense of all the targets. Paul Bunyan has the Earth attribute, along with the traits Servant, Female, Child Servant, Spiritron Dress User, Fairy Tale Servant, Hominidae, and Weak to Enema Elish, and her alignment is neutral. But her main gimmick is an unremovable guts with 50 revivals that bring her back to full health each time. At the start, Bunyan will buff her allies with a 25% increase to their critical rate, which is unremovable and lasts for 5 turns. Additionally, Bunyan will switch herself out with the next enemy in her team's queue at turn 3, seemingly to give her a chance to rest, as the skill name implies. At turn 6, she will switch back into her team's front line. Bunyan will alternate between switching out and back in every 3 turns, so on the odd number turns, 3, 9, 15, etc., she will be switched out. And on the even number turns, 6, 12, 18 onwards, she will come back. When there are 11 enemies or less and Paul Bunyan is on the field, then she will charge all of her front line's NP gauge to full and buff them with a 5-turn 10k HP regen. And lastly, for her gimmicks, when the Camp Giant Spriggan appears on the field, Bunyan will buff her allies with an unremovable attack increase in 3 stacks. 1 attack buff of 50% for 1 turn, another for 30% lasting 2 turns, and the third a 3-turn attack buff of 20%. Plus, they will all get a 1 tick of NP gauge generation per turn for 5 turns. The secondary boss of the CQ is Berserker Eric Bloodaxe. He will be the last in the queue of Paul Bunyan's allies to take the field and comes with 2 HP bars, the first at 480,000 and the second at 607,000. Eric's normal skill set includes a single target debuff of an enemy's attack and defense lasting for 2 turns. He also has a 1-time guts that lasts for 4 turns, and he can remove his own debuffs and increase his max HP for 3 turns. Eric has an AoE MP to watch out for. He possesses the Man attribute along with the traits Servant, Male, Hominidae Servant, Humanoid, King, and Weak to Enema Elish. Eric's alignment is Chaotic Neutral. It's a bit of a blessing when Eric Bloodaxe enters the field, as your party will have 10k HP restored and 25% of their NP gauge filled, plus a skill cooldown reduction by 1. His only other gimmick is to charge his NP gauge to full when his first HP bar is broken. So that covers Paul Bunyan and Eric Bloodaxe. But what about the other 18 enemies? Well, as you can see here, there are a mix that range from Rider class wild dogs and dolls, plus berserker robots and boars. All of their HP vary, with one having just under 32k, which is the lowest, and a golem type having 114k, with everyone else's HP in between. There are 3 more enemies that are notable with much beefier HP values. 2 caster class campfire sprites, having 256k and 306k HP respectively, and the saber class camp giant or spriggan, having 454k HP. These 3 will make up the last 5 in the enemy queue, along with Bunyan and Bloodaxe. Defeating these regular enemies play a key role in making it easier to deal with Paul Bunyan's 50 stacks of guts. For every wild dog, golem, boar, and doll defeated, that will have the effect of removing 2 stacks of guts from Bunyan. And defeat of the 2 campfire sprites and 1 spriggan will each remove 5 stacks of guts from Bunyan. So once all of these tertiary enemies are defeated, Paul Bunyan will lose a combined total of 45 stacks of guts, which means you will still have to contend with at least 5 stacks of guts throughout the battle. So, we have 20 enemies of mixed classes, lots of berserkers, one of which has a ton of guts, and some pretty beefy HP pools to get through. Sounds pretty fun. First off, it's very recommended to equip your main attacker with the event damage CE Hide Hunter. Hopefully you were able to max limit break it to provide a 200% damage bonus. But at the least, even the regular version will be useful with its default 100% bonus. Another craft essence that could be useful is the 5-star Child of Atlas. Its effects provide a 35% damage increase against berserkers and it ignores defense. Of the 20 total enemies, 10 of them are berserkers, including the 2 main boss units. So if you happen to have the CE, then it could be used on your secondary attackers or support units for some additional offensive power. Now, as for the main attacker, you will probably want to choose a capable servant with an AoE MP. One that has the ability to MP loop would be great, or at least has an MP battery of their own. Considering all the berserkers in the enemy lineup, this does give you a fair amount of options to go with, but ideally you will want an attacker that's at least neutral to the non-berserker classes in the enemy lineup, so neutral towards riders, casters, and sabers. If you were to try and best leverage the servants with an event bonus damage, Mooncancer Kiara and Foreigner Summer Abigail would be good options with their bonus damage being 100%. Equip them with Hide Hunter and they could have a combined 200% bonus damage, or even better, 300% if it's an MLB Hide Hunter. So at that point, even neutral enemies should go down quite easily. Of course, berserkers would be effective here as well, and among those with event bonus damage are Zhang Yu and Summer Musashi. Other notable event servants that would be at least neutral to most, if not all of the non-berserker enemies are Summer Tomoe, Emiya, and Summer Ilya among those with a 50% damage bonus. Siegfried, Summer Jean, Welfare Rider Ishtar, Rider Mordred, Bunny Toria, Dantes, and Summer Bibi among those with a 30% damage bonus. I feel Lancer Melt could work with an MLB Hide Hunter here. Just need to be careful with her class disadvantage towards the Spriggan. But it's just one enemy out of 20, albeit one with a larger HP pool and powerful attacks. But there are also plenty of non-event servants that would be good options. To highlight a few of the ones that really jump out at me, we have Foreigners Hokusai and Voyager, Avengers Space Ishtar, Berserkers Arjuna Alter and Lancelot, and Rider Da Vinci. Obviously, there are lots of others that could work as main attackers. But those I mentioned, I picked out for reasons like their overall advantage, exceptional capabilities, or their looping ability, or in some cases all of the above. But there are more budget-oriented options, like the aforementioned Welfare Rider Ishtar, or Welfare Santa Nightingale. Permanent SRs like Archer Atalanta, Rider Astolfo, or even Rider Marie Antoinette are possible options as well. Again, the key thing is to try and pick an AoE servant option that's at least neutral to riders, casters, and sabers. NP looping ability would be great to have, but is not a deal breaker. Now, regardless of a servant's ability to NP loop, this CQ won't be conquered in just a few turns. So you will need to find a balance among your support units to provide NP generation, healing, and defense against enemy NP attacks to effectively sustain your front line for multiple turns of battle. Castoria, Scotty, and Merlin can all handle surviving NP attacks in their own way. Merlin can also provide healing, NP, and critical star generation. Ruler Jean and Tamamo Castor are also support options that can provide healing, plus another aspect to sustain the party, such as invincibility in Jean's case, or in Tamamo's case, NP charge, cooldown reduction, and enemy NP drain. For those with smaller rosters, if you have to rely on friend support for any of these options, then in my opinion, Merlin is the support to choose. He covers all the necessary aspects to sustain the party for a protracted battle. Castoria would be a close second, and would provide more NP charge to the party, along with more offensive support with her skill and NP-based party-wide attack buffs. If you had someone else to provide healing, perhaps a budget option like Hans Christian Andersen, Asclepius, or Welfare Irisville, then Castoria could conceivably work better depending on your DPS options. Now, I don't have a clear-cut general budget recommendation this time around, mainly due to the overall endurance format of the CQ. Fortunately, this event provides a damage bonus CE, which makes it easier for smaller rosters to utilize the best AoE DPS option available to them. I think it'll fall more towards which support units one has access to that will be important. So to me, it will probably be more advantageous to use your friend support option to choose someone like Merlin or Castoria and build your team around that foundation. Well, those are my thoughts for the Servant Summer Camp CQ. It will most likely be a lengthy battle for many. Even a minimum turn clear will take at least 9 turns. So try to focus on a team with good sustain, and if possible, have a last resort servant. One with good solo potential like Heracles, or a more accessible option like Lancer Ku. Don't forget about the specific gimmicks where Bunyan or Eric Bloodaxe can fire off their MPs right away. If caught unprepared, that can basically end the run. When I finally catch up on the story, gonna try and do that tonight, I hope to try out several team comps for the CQ, including at least one that's budget friendly. At any rate, I hope this was helpful in some way. Please leave a comment on who you plan to use for the CQ, and don't forget to leave a like if you enjoyed this video. Many thanks for watching, and until the next one.